Let's welcome in SNY NBA insider Frank Isola. So, Frank, are the Knicks really considering trading their best player? And if so, why?
Well, this seems to have been on the table really since the end of the year when the Knicks had another disappointing season. And more importantly, Kristaps Porzingis did not show up for his exit meeting. And I think ever since then, everything has been in play. Because if you remember, Phil Jackson at the time said, hey, listen, he would listen to any offer out there for any of his players. The Knicks have had zero contact with Kristaps since he left right at the end of April. They haven't even sent a coach over to work with him in Latvia, which is almost unheard of to have a player of that caliber. So I think Phil Jackson testing the waters to see, what type of, investment he can get back from a guy like Kristaps Porziņģis. Can you get players? Can you get multiple draft picks back? I tend to think that nothing will happen, but as you know, being around New York, stranger things have happened with this club before.
So, Frank, you're saying that miscommunication between Porzingis and Phil Jackson and the Knicks this offseason could end up with Porzingis playing for another team. It's that serious an issue.
Oh, I think it's certainly a factor, but I also think Phil Jackson is looking at it as, is this the guy that we can build around? Because we had to have Carmelo Anthony on the team and Kristaps Porzingis the last 2 years, and we haven't been that good. But I do think when you have a player that is this young as Porzingis is, he's still only 21 years old. He turns 22 at the beginning of August. This is the kind of guy that you have to be patient with. So let's say you do trade him and you bring back a couple of players that are in this year's draft. Those guys are an unknown. Now, maybe they could turn out to be better than Porzingis, but at least with Kristaps, you know what you have. You have a guy that has a chance to be a perennial all-star in this league. And that's why I think when all is said and done and Phil Jackson goes through everything, I don't think he will make a deal. But needless to say, Kristaps Porzingis is not too happy that the Knicks are out there looking to see what they can get for him.
And Knicks fans were thinking, this guy's the future of our organization. All right, let's talk about a trade that actually is happening, Frank. Well, reportedly, even if this is a cap-clearing move for the Lakers, is it a steal for the Nets to get Russell for what they had to give up?
I think it's a smart move for the Nets. D'Angelo Russell just a couple of years ago was the number 2 overall pick in the draft. I really thought at the end of last season he started to play a lot better. Obviously needs to grow up, needs to mature, but that's to be expected. He only spent a couple of years in college. He's still a young guy. When you look at the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, Kenny Atkinson, he's had very good success working with point guards, whether it's point guards in Houston like Kyle Lowry. He had Jeremy Lin in New York. Obviously, he's had him in Brooklyn. He was down in Atlanta, worked with Jeff Teague and also Dennis Schroeder. I think D'Angelo Russell, this will be a big break for him. He'll get a welcome change. He'll be in Brooklyn. He'll be the star of the team. Kenny Atkinson, even Mozgov. I know everybody mocks the contract that Mozgov has, and that's fair, but he could still be a serviceable player. So I think for the Nets, getting a guy that just a couple of years ago was the number 2 pick in the draft, and now he's your point guard, I actually think what they had to deal with, I think Sean Marks, Kenny Atkinson, and the Brooklyn Nets did pretty well today.
And Nets just can't wait until that Boston trade is in their rearview mirror entirely. SNY NBA insider Frank Isola. Frank, thanks for a couple minutes.